Ahead on Face the State, a lawsuit over gender-affirming care. Coming up, the latest on the law being challenged before it goes into effect. Plus, the budget at the new Board of Education and Workforce is in the red. Next, what may cause a deficit.
So you should be planning not only where to watch the event, but where you can get your glasses as well.
And my sit down with the Ohio Chamber of Commerce on the economic impact of the total solar eclipse. That and much more right now on Face the State. Well, thanks for joining us on Face the State and happy Easter. I'm Clay Gordon in for Doug Petcash. Ohio's ban on gender-affirming care for the state's transgender youth is coming under fire by the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU filed a lawsuit in Franklin County to strike down the law before it takes effect next month. The lawsuit states personal or private medical decisions should remain between families, not politicians. The lawsuit claims House Bill 68, also known as the Ohio Saving Adolescents from Experimentation Act, violates the state's constitution. 10 TV's Kevin Landers heard from one parent of a transgender child who says he fears the law will have unintended consequences, which is why he wants it stopped.
My oldest is gender queer, non-binary.
Nick Bates of Columbus is talking about his 13-year-old child, Sam, who he says came out as transgender in middle school.
Parenting is hard enough without the government taking away my freedom as a parent to make the best decisions for my child.
He's talking about House Bill 68, also known as the SAFE Act, which bans gender-affirming care for transgender youth, a term Bates says is misunderstood.
The vast majority of gender-affirming care focuses on social transitions, clothing, use of proper pronouns, and recognizing the child for who they are.
Leading the charge to make the bill a law was State Representative Gary Click. The Republican from the Tiffin area disagreed with the American Medical Association, which supports gender-affirming care.
The AAP does not represent all. They may be an association and they may have thousands of members, but they do not represent the view of all of those pediatricians. I've talked to pediatricians who totally oppose this. I've talked to several doctors who totally oppose this.
As a parent of a transgender child, Bates says the bill could create a bigger problem.
Are you worried at all as a parent that this could perhaps increase the possibility of attempted suicide or suicide among those transgender youth in our state?
Yes.
Governor Mike DeWine vetoed House Bill 68, but Senate Republicans voted to override that veto. The bill will become law on April 24th. Nick Bates believes the lawsuit will prevail.
First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So my faith draws me back to the idea that we will eventually win this fight.
Kevin Landers reporting. Now let's take a look at how House Bill 68 got here. Lawmakers passed the bill in December. Then Governor Mike DeWine vetoed it on December 29th. House lawmakers voted to override that veto on January 10th, with the Senate voting to do the same on January 24th. House Bill 68 is set to take effect on April 23rd. Ohio is the 23rd state to ban gender-affirming health care. Ohio State Board of Education is in a budget crisis. The Board of Education and Workforce discussed concerns in its March meeting that it could be in a deficit of $4 to $5 million over the next few years. The board proposed the idea of raising its 5-year teacher licensing fees, cutting staff, and requesting money from the state. The president of the Ohio Education Association says the budget issues were created when the state legislature overhauled the education department. He is calling on the governor and the legislature to fill the gaps in funding without having to cut staff or raise the cost of teacher licenses.
If the state board doesn't have adequate funding, its only revenue stream is teacher license fees. And so that means that the people who work every day to provide support for students in our schools end up footing the bill for a decision that was made by politicians in Columbus. It's a tax on teachers. It's unfair. and we believe it's wholly unnecessary.
A spokesperson for the governor says it is premature for the Ohio Board of Education to be proposing things like raising the teaching licenses because it is still going through a transitional phase. The board says it has already reduced its expenses by cutting back on travel and keeping some open positions. A new online dashboard from Columbus City Schools providing insight into which buildings are too crowded and which are underused. This comes as the superintendent says CCS is looking to reduce costs by closing and consolidating schools. Just last month, the district launched a task force to develop a plan to do just that. And now with new data, the task force co-chair says it could help them learn what's best for the students.
We want to do what's best for the kids, because some of us hang on to our old high schools, our old middle schools. That's where you grew up. That's what your parents went to. But some of these buildings are old, and we have to come to reality that we got to do what's best for the kids right now. And so we're losing kids to charter schools, and we want those kids to come back to our schools.
The group will make its recommendation to the school board in June. There will be an opportunity for public comment before the board votes. Any changes will be implemented in fall of 2025. Federal help could be on the way more than 2 weeks after deadly tornadoes swept through the Buckeye State. 8 tornadoes touched down the night of March 14th. In all, 11 different counties saw some sort of damage, some of the worst being in Logan County around Indian Lake. Now, teams from FEMA were in Central Ohio getting a firsthand look at the damage. This crew was in Berkshire campgrounds in rural Delaware County after the state requested the response.
We come in, Small Business Administration, assess the damage, and then from there we go on, and if there's information that the state wants to handle the disaster on their own, they do that. If they think they need federal assistance, they can request assistance from the government.
We are expecting FEMA's report soon. It's still too early to know how costly the storm system was. Well, after the tornadoes, a Hilliard woman has made it her mission to make sure one photograph gets back to where it belongs. 10 TV's Colin Dorsey has her story on how she's trying to spread a little kindness at a time when people rebuilding from the storms need it most.
I found it right here. It was laying right there, like that.
An unframed 8x10 of an unknown little boy from an undetermined location. This photograph showing up in Jennifer Saunders' Hilliard front yard.
It got torn a little bit when through the storm. I found it like this.
The lingering question, where did it come from? It showed up the morning after tornadoes in strong storms ripped through Ohio and Indiana March 14th. Those storms just 2 weeks after the tornado that hit Hilliard, not too far from her own home. Maybe it came from just a few blocks away, or maybe it came from miles away. Jennifer went right to work trying to take the maybe out of it.
My son Brandon asked me, "What are you going to do with the picture?" So I told him I'm going to try to find the owner of it.
First, checking with neighbors.
I asked several of the houses, do you know who this is in this photo? And they said no, they didn't know, so I didn't have any luck.
So then she took to social media, posting the photo to various Facebook pages and on Nextdoor, trying to reunite the unknown boy with his proper home. The problem, there's not much to go off of. The back is blank. The front has a date of 2011 and the watermark of Olin Mills Photography Studio, a chain that went away shortly after this photo was taken. But as a mom herself of 2 boys, she can't imagine losing a photo of either.
Families pass on photographs from generation to generation, and that's how they connect and know each other's histories.
It's also about bringing a bit of kindness to an unknown someone who may need it right now.
People have lost so much in these tornadoes. And if I could just give one thing back, or something that means so much, that would be so valuable, like this photograph, that would mean so much.
So maybe, just maybe, Jennifer will be able to take away the unknown of who this boy is. In Hilliard, Colin Dorsey, 10 TV News.
And the boy in that photograph would be nearly an adult by now. If you recognize the boy in the picture, reach out to 10 TV. The U.S. Supreme Court seems likely to preserve access to a medication that was used in nearly 2/3 of all abortions in the country last year. After more than an hour of argument on Tuesday, it appears the people who challenged the FDA's approval of the medication mifepristone and subsequent actions to ease access to it lacked the legal right or standing to sue. This comes after both conservative and liberal judges are raising skeptical questions on the issue of standing. This is the court's first abortion case since Roe v. Wade was overturned 2 years ago. A House committee investigating anti-Semitism on college campuses is now targeting Rutgers University. The school is not commenting yet on this matter. After months of controversy and public demonstrations, there is mixed reaction after Columbus City Council approved a resolution calling for peace in Gaza. Both Palestinian protesters you could hear chanting ceasefire now and people from Jewish Columbus spoke against the wording of the resolution. Palestinians wanted the word ceasefire used, while Jewish Columbus says it supports peace, but wanted City Council to call out Hamas directly for their actions leading to the conflict in Gaza. Columbus is not alone. Cleveland City Council passed a similar resolution in their meeting as well, sponsored by all members. Their resolution calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. More legal trouble for former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder. He now faces an indictment from the Ohio Attorney General's office, accused of misusing campaign funds to pay for his criminal defense in his federal trial. Householder was convicted in that trial just over 1 year ago. He's currently serving 20 years in prison for his conviction, but is appealing it. Householder could run for office again if that appeal is successful. That's the reason why Attorney General Dave Yost says the new state case against Householder is so important.
The public interest demands the punishment of the conduct and the deterrence of others who might be tempted to the same sort of wrongdoing. Yes, we're sending a message.
Householder is set to be arraigned in Cuyahoga County on April 12th. Coming up here on Face the State, as Ohio's solar eclipse plans come together, businesses are preparing for a boom. Our conversation with the Ohio Chamber of Commerce on economic impact. Ohio is expecting an influx of visitors for the solar eclipse. We're going to talk all about it right now. Matt McLaren with the Ohio Chamber of Commerce joins us. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
So how is the chamber, in charge mostly of businesses? How are they preparing for the solar eclipse?
Well, the solar eclipse is going to be big business on April 8th. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event happening here in Ohio. All of Ohio is going to experience an eclipse, and a large path in the state of Ohio is going to experience a total solar eclipse. It's going to bring hundreds of thousands of people to our state.
So how do you plan for something like this? Have you guys looked to other states, for past years that have gone through this? Where do you even begin?
We have. So Ohio's doing a great job. What Ohio does really well, our communities, our attractions, they step up. And that's what's happening this time around. You're seeing a lot of the communities being prepared for the large amount of guests coming in by doing big viewing parties. You're also seeing the attractions doing things like Cedar Point. It's opening up the earliest it's ever opened. It'll be open on April 8th for its total eclipse at the point. And then other major attractions like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, adding a 4-day solar fest, so they want people to come early and stay late and enjoy Cleveland for that entire weekend.
So what do you think people are going to be spending their money on? Are we talking hotel, gas, or are we talking about some of these events as well?
We are. We're seeing them spend on all of it. In fact, many hotels and campgrounds in the path of totality are already full. Airbnbs are filling up. People are going to be traveling in here from other states. And then as far as an economic impact, we're going to see it in the hundreds of millions of dollars because of this great event. It's really kicking off the tourism season for Ohio just a little early this year.
The Chamber has thousands of clients, of members. What are they saying about this? We're talking maybe, you think of the hotels, but what are some of the businesses doing to prepare for the influx?
Yeah, they're excited about it. I mean, you're going to see watch parties in all the major cities and all the major communities that are in that path of totality. Those include areas in Dayton and in Akron and Cleveland, Toledo, Sandusky, northern parts of Columbus. All are going to be, and when we say path of totality, that area where the moon will completely cover the sun, so you get this darkness right in the middle of the afternoon, right around that 3:10 time period. So with these watch parties, you have areas like the Sculpture Park in Butler County and the Grand Resort in Warren, Ohio, in Trumbull County that are going to invite people in, make sure that they have your solar glasses to watch and really enjoy a community event together watching this solar eclipse.
You mentioned the economic impact, obviously, to the hundreds of millions throughout the whole state, but it's going to be a big boost for some of these rural communities too that are maybe outside of the city limits that, maybe wouldn't have thousands and thousands of people. Like, these cities will swell up.
They will. And what we're seeing and what we're hearing from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, state parks are going to be a popular place to go. Many of the state park lodges and campgrounds are already filling up for that time.
Are there specific sectors or industries that will maybe benefit from this than others?
It's the tourism industry. So tourism in the state of Ohio is a $46 billion a year industry. The biggest time for us is usually in the summer, but with this starting April 8th, it gives people a reason, even more of a reason, to be here and enjoying Ohio. So you're seeing that early kickoff to a big tourism season. But what I also like, and what you'll also find, those that visit Ohio, their perception of our state more than doubles as a great place to live, a great place to start a family, a great place for starting a business. So by inviting these visitors in and giving them this great experience, we're improving the perception of Ohio, which will help us with population and more visitors on down the line.
So correct me if I'm wrong, from the tourism aspect of the Ohio Chamber, this is almost a recruiting event.
In some ways, yeah, it really is, because our state's a great product and we get people here to see it, it makes them want to come back.
And tell me too about the logistics of, totality. It's only a couple minutes, but it takes months of planning for this. But you're saying, come early, stay late. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so because there's going to be so many people in the state of Ohio during this event, we're expecting a lot of traffic. And the best way to avoid that traffic is if you come early, right? So you're not just going to be there for the eclipse, which will start happening around 2 in the afternoon, and that total eclipse happens around 3:10 in most areas. So come earlier, enjoy the communities that you're in, and then stay late, stay past the actual eclipse so that you're not in that big traffic as everyone tries at home, so that you're enjoying the location that you're in, the attraction that you're in, the restaurants and the cities that you're in.
Matt, you've been in the tourism industry for a very long time. Tell me what you're specifically looking for with an event like this. What are you hoping to learn from an event like this?
Well, I'll tell you what we first want. We want a very sunny day.
Right.
So if we have a sunny day across the state of Ohio, that's a best case scenario. People will be spread out all across the state, and then they'll have a great experience. Even if we get a little bit of clouds here and there, I still know that the great amusement parks and attractions and museums that are offering being open that day are going to provide a great experience. And that's what people we want them to have and learn and take away as a great experience.
It sounds like all positives right now for the state. Is that right?
It is. It is. This is an opportunity for Ohio to really show itself to hundreds of thousands of new visitors in April, and I know we're going to do a great job.
So I'm going to be watching from my patio. Matt, where are you going to be watching the eclipse from?
Yeah, I think you'll either find me at COSI here in Columbus or at the Columbus Zoo watching alongside the animals.
Excellent. Matt McLaren with the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. Really appreciate your input, and best of luck on the eclipse day.
Yeah, thank you.
Now make sure when the eclipse is here, you are protecting your eyes. The Ohio Department of Health officials say even during the moment of totality, it's not safe to look at the sun without the proper eclipse glasses. 10 TV's Kevin Landers explains the harmful and lasting effects that not having the proper eyewear could cause.
Thousands of Ohioans will have a front seat to the total solar eclipse. And if you're planning to watch, experts say not just any glasses will keep you safe.
Sunglasses don't help. You shouldn't ever stare at the sun, even with sunglasses. You should not use cameras to view the sun. Certainly should not use binoculars to view the sun. Sometimes they can even concentrate the rays.
If you don't wear the proper eclipse glasses, doctors say your eyes could be damaged in a matter of seconds.
Even just a few brief looks at the sun can cause permanent damage to our vision.
Even during the moment of totality, when the sun is completely blocked by the moon, experts say don't be tricked into taking off your glasses.
The moon blocking the sun can move ever so slightly, and even a quick change and a quick glimpse during that can cause immediate and permanent damage to your eyes.
As for re-wearing old 2017 eclipse glasses, Dr. Walleen says those aren't guaranteed to be safe. He urges you to get new glasses because your vision is too important to leave to chance.
We don't know for sure if there are problems with some of these glasses, and I can guarantee you, if you burn the retina or the seeing part of the eye, your eyes don't feel it. and it's too late by the time you actually know.
Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
3 of the 6 members of the Living Presidents Club are joining forces. President Biden's 2 immediate Democratic predecessors, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, are joining Biden for a re-election fundraiser. Obama has become increasingly involved in Biden's re-election campaign in recent weeks and potentially in coming weeks. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has named his running mate during a campaign rally. Kennedy announced Silicon Valley attorney and entrepreneur Nicole Shanahan as his vice presidential pick. The 38-year-old first-time candidate has previously said she supports Kennedy in part because of his environmental advocacy and for his stance on vaccines and children's health. Christie says an option for him to run on a third-party candidacy is out of the question. In a statement, the former New Jersey governor said while he appreciates the encouragement, it's not an avenue he wants to pursue. Christie added that he cannot have his candidacy help Donald Trump retake the White House. The Republican National Committee is hiring, but they appear to have an unusual test for new staffers. Sources say during job interviews, the RNC is asking candidates if they believe the 2020 presidential election was stolen. This comes after the Trump campaign merged its operations with the RNC. A spokesperson for the RNC says the committee wants employees with meaningful views on how elections are won and lost. For the first time in nearly 30 years, part of Donald Trump's business empire has gone public. People can now buy stock in Trump Media and Technology Group, which owns the social media platform called Truth Social. Stock surged about 50% on opening at the NASDAQ. Wall Street assigned Trump Media a valuation of about $14 billion. However, experts warn that the price tag is not in line with reality. Well, the markets were closed on Good Friday. The stock price settled the week at $61.96. Former Senator and Vice Presidential candidate Joe Lieberman has been laid to rest. In a statement from his family, Lieberman suffered complications from a fall. He was elected in the U.S. Senate in 1988 and in 2000. He was chosen by Al Gore to be his running mate for the White House. Lieberman switched from being a Democrat to an independent in 2006 and remained one until he left Senate in 2013. In a statement, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says, quote, Fran and I were saddened to learn of the death of former U.S. Senator Joe Lieberman of Connecticut. Joe was a Senate colleague who put country over party. He cared deeply about our country and the people he served. He was a man of great integrity. I was proud to work together with Joe on a number of issues, including legislation to combat underage drinking on college campuses. He was a good man who lived his faith, end quote. Joe Lieberman was 82 years old, and we'll be right back. And before we go on this Easter Sunday, check this out. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden say the 2024 White House Easter egg roll will take place on the South Lawn tomorrow, continuing one of the oldest traditions in White House history. The theme will be Egg-ucation. It's the same theme Joe Biden used for each of the past 2 years. The South Lawn of the White House will feature educational activities such as a reading nook, a snack time tent, a physical education zone, and a field trip to the farm where kids can learn about how farmers help feed their families. Well, thank you for joining me this week for Face the State. Happy Easter. I'm Clay Gordon. Doug Patcash will return next week right here on Face the State.